we have in studio. Yes, Sister Kim is here, my lady. She's helping out. Water, please. Water, please. And let me just say, my people, we have in studio tonight. When I say in studio via Zoom, we are discussing Burned by Billionaires, and we're so grateful. It's been about 4 or 5 years since we had Chuck Collins, Economic Environmental Justice, a scathing expose of the hidden impact of America's ultra-wealthy on our social, economic, political, and ecological landscape. And hey, we may be out here in the North Atlantic, people, but that certainly has an impact on us also. So Burned by Billionaires, I encourage everyone, please purchase this book. You will see and find some of Bermuda in this here. When I say the way of life that we daily coexist with as the highest cost of living in the world. Playing that out. So we have with us the author, Chuck Collins, senior scholar at the Institute for Policy Studies. And he's going to reveal how the top 0.01% manipulate the system to serve their interests at the expense of the rest of us. And like I said, we may be here in the North Atlantic, but we are not exempt from that type of pressure. We too are subjected to, let me just say, being burned by the billionaires. And so let me just say, listening audience, we're going to have a conversation with Chuck Collins for the first hour, and he's going to leave us afterwards. And then we open it up and have our discussion. Bermuda, I'll engage you, pull you into some of the conversation, because we too suffer still the financial curse. And, that is something also that we have been speaking to here in Bermuda, the financial curse. So I want to just make sure if audio and everything is fine. Chuck hears me. Can I hear you, Chuck? Say hello. Okay, Chuck, we still have that audio problem. So call the 800 number. And that's how we will improvise here. Chuck is all the way there in snowy Vermont. And he's so gracious to give us some of his time in this important discussion. And he's going to call in. I see him, and here we go. Chuck, are you there?
I'm here.
Beautiful, beautiful, man. It's great to have you again. It's been about, 4 or 5 years since you were last on all fronts. And you've been busy, man. You've been very busy. I'm so appreciative as someone who contributes to inequality.org. Also, the Institute for Policy Studies. I encourage my listening audience to always visit the site and stay somewhat current, because your research is very much current to the economic, the social, and environmental injustices that is befalling our planet right now. And going through your book, I just want to jump right in. I want to jump right in with this, Chuck, and discuss, of course, as I was going and reading through the book, I always read through the book through the lens of, okay, who and where is Bermuda in this? And of course, your book speaks to much of what Bermuda is being subjected to in terms of high cost of living, obviously. The impact on housing, big issue here in Bermuda. And you, of course, you know how expensive Bermuda is. With it also is we've been discussing a collection of corporate taxation. And I certainly want to get some of your perspective and insight, because as much as the book outlines how we are being burned by billionaires, you are about solutions. And I do want to hear some of your solutions, especially pertinent to those issues that are close to us right now, especially corporate taxation, collection, and what it could mean for a collection for Bermuda's people. Just as, of course, you have outlined how we have, I think we're up to some 800, 900 plus billionaires globally. A far cry from the 15, probably 20, 30 years ago, right? And you speak to how much everything that they are doing right now, it's impacting everyday citizenry way of life. When we talk about the middle class, well, is there a middle class anymore when we look at the influence of billionaires have on our economy? So I just want to begin right there. That essential question. For a place like Bermuda, how is Bermuda being burned by billionaires with our multinational corporations present?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Lou, for having me back. While we haven't spoken, I've seen the conversations you've been having. They're important conversations in Bermuda and globally. You're a really important voice and leader in this conversation. So,
thank you.
And yeah, since you and I saw each other, now there was a little pandemic in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Just in 5 years, the changes in this concentration of wealth and power, the surge in the number of global billionaires, and the amount of wealth that they have. And I think, it touches Bermuda. It touches every corner of the earth, because it's not just about the wealth. It's about the power and the power that a very small segment of the population wields. There's probably 3,000 global billionaires, about 920 in the U.S. Well, they may not be citizens of Bermuda. They probably visit. They probably bank. They certainly do reinsurance business out of your country, and they're driving up the cost of land and housing on an island, which has obviously finite land. So in every way, I kind of say it's touching our sense of agency and power as a democracy in self-governing societies. It's affecting taxes. What the billionaires and the corporations they control have done is they've shifted tax responsibilities off of themselves and on to everybody else, or starved budgets, national budgets, like in Bermuda, of revenue that could be invested in well-being. It's affecting health. It's affecting the environment, and the fact that the number of private jets and luxury yachts that you probably see and come and go from Bermuda.
We've seen a few.
That's a symbol of that extraordinary wealth that's displacing everything around us.
When I was reading through the book, and it just made me search more about the billionaire mindset, and I said I have to share this with you and get your perspective on it, because you do speak to that mindset, and I often. I just bear with me while I read this, the billionaire mindset. It says, you've seen billionaires donate millions, hospitals, scholarships, climate projects. It looks noble. It sounds generous. But what if those donations quietly came back to them? Here's how the world's richest play the game most never see. They create a foundation, a private entity for good. Then they donate money into it, getting massive tax deductions instantly. On paper, it looks like they gave it away. In reality, the money never leaves their control. The foundation invests in their own companies, startups, and partner ventures. So technically, it's charity. But strategically, it's profit, influence, and power. They get applause from the public while quietly funding the next phase of their empire. The genius it's 100% legal. Smart lawyers, perfect paperwork, and a system built to reward generosity that pays itself back. The world sees a philanthropist, but behind the curtain, it's a billionaire running a tax-free business disguised as kindness. Wow. Reading through your book, I said, well, your book captures this to some degree. And it had me also thinking in terms of, just as you shared just now, while in Bermuda, we may not see the everyday billionaire plastered across our papers or featured and so forth, but certainly we have billionaire corporations. And many of the 900 plus that you speak to, I'm certain or sure that some of them are present in Bermuda, directly or indirectly through corporate influences. And so when I share this here, I just want to go right there because we see a lot of this also. And we're grateful in terms of what the multinational corporations do to support charities in Bermuda. But when I read that, it had me asking the question, when I look at the billions in profits that they make versus the charitable deduction, which is tax deductible for some, for all really, in U.S., I just wanted to get your take, your perspective in the context of this here, because we're burned by billionaires just in that.
It's so important, Lou, that you point this out, because I think we kind of get this feeling like, oh, well, the billionaires are being generous and they're sharing their wealth, and in the globally there's this thing called the giving pledge of billionaires who give pledge to give away half their wealth in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about the point you're making, which is, listen, charity is not a substitute for a fair tax system. Mm. And it's not a democratically governed form of wealth redistribution. It's the decision-making still rests with the billionaires, and they are not going to fund some of the things that maybe the rest of the population might support. So while there are genuinely examples of billionaires sharing wealth and doing it in a way that is not selfish and self-interested, the reality is it's another form of private power and wealth. It's another way, and it's subsidized by we, the rest of us taxpayers. So just to kind of walk through that one more time, let's say I'm a billionaire and I don't have to pay tax, and my corporation doesn't pay tax in Bermuda, but I give money to my own private foundation. The year I put that money in there, I get a complete tax deduction. I have effectively opted out of paying taxes. Now I have a foundation, and I may give away 5% a year. Or I might give it to a donor advised fund and not have to give any of it away. So it sort of dribbles out, trickles out. And again, I'm not questioning the motives of everybody. I'm not saying it's entirely a selfish enterprise. But the reality is, I got a tax break. Let's say I gave $100 million to the Chuck Collins, Llewellyn Simmons Foundation. I brought you in as my partner here. Mm-hmm. And now that I've just reduced my taxes by $100 million, and now we're going to give away, a couple $1 million a year for decades. And you and I are going to make the decisions. Nobody else is going to have input into it. So it's not the same as, taxing corporate income or taxing wealth and income and, elected representatives making the decisions. It's private power. Mm. So we effectively all subsidize the charitable giving of the billionaire class.
Chuck, just explain to us in terms of where does or how does hyper extraction come into this, and the concept of hyper extraction in this scenario that we just spoke to.
Yeah. Yeah, in the book Burned by Billionaires, I think people are very focused, and sometimes will say, well, these billionaires have created useful products. They've created businesses that we all benefit from. We're not hating on them, whatever. But what I want people to understand is that at a certain point of wealth accumulation, it becomes power. And so there's the first stage where you're starting a business, and maybe, Lou, you create a better mousetrap. And everybody's like, wow, we love Lou's mousetrap, and we're going to buy it. And you're rewarded, and you build more wealth. But pretty soon you start to invest in what I call wealth defense. You hire investment advisors and tax planners, and you look to bring the money off to offshore tax havens so you don't have to pay taxes in the U.S. Some of that money may end up in banks in Bermuda, even though the people of Bermuda aren't really benefiting from that. Then they invest in political capture and influencing legislation. And finally, this final stage I call hyper-extraction. And here you have to just understand, if you have $1 billion, where do you park it? Where do you invest it? Where does it go? You don't want to put it all in one company or one investment. You don't want to put it in one type of investment, So all of a sudden you're saying, well, I want to own real estate in Bermuda. I want to own real estate in New York. I want to own real estate in Toronto and London. I'm going to buy stocks and bonds, but I'm going to spread it around. I got to buy art and jewelry and land. The reason that Bill Gates is the biggest owner of farmland in the United States is not because he wants to grow carrots. It's because he has so much money. He's just looking for every place to park it. And that gets to some of the harms, the ways we're all being burned. So just take housing. How much housing in Bermuda is absentee owned or owned by investors? And how much is it actually used? In New York City, I could give you a tour of these luxury buildings. No one is living in them. They're like safe deposit boxes in the sky. They're just a place to park and hold wealth. And then a portion of that money goes into how can we make more money by investing and extracting wealth from the healthy economy? And this is where you see the billionaire investors moving into hospitals and pet care and, extracting more money out of the housing market by investing in, housing that is, where people pay them rents. And on and on. All that money is squeezing the real economy. And we see this in healthcare. The billionaire investors are buying up hospitals, not for the general well-being and the health of the public, but to make money, to squeeze more money out of the patients and the workers, and through, just buying up emergency rooms, buying up hospitals. So you name an arena of the market, and I could show you how hyper-extractive wealth extraction is affecting the day-to-day lives of people.
You share in the book and talk about the role of billionaires and mobile home parks. Here in Bermuda, of course, we've been talking about affordable living, affordable housing, and there's much discussion currently, going on right now, about affordable housing in the framework of container housing, right? And when I listen to that and hear that, I hear it as in the same context of mobile homes, affordable, a low-income housing opportunity for people. It's something that we've had before many years ago, but now looking at where we are right now, there's much discussion about affordable homes in terms of container homes. And of course, when I look at what the Chinese have been doing in terms of building affordable homes, even in the U.S. right now, I've been in conversations. There's a firm in Las Vegas called Boxable, who are making affordable types of homes, almost like Lego-like. And so when I read with what you have in terms of billionaires and mobile home parks, and this is being proposed, especially the one in the Boxable, because you can also become an investor in this particular business venture. And so I'm curious, as a place like Bermuda, who is, as you say, as you know, I mean, it's not like we have an abundance of land. Yeah, we mean, right now there are people who are frowning because we've got another big building going up in downtown Hamilton, right? And a few other executive housing going up. And so most of Bermuda knows that, well, that's not for me. But again, we know it's for a certain economic status. So where do you see and how do you see this as a solution or not to affordable housing in a place like Bermuda? And like you said, we see it across the U.S. and other places.
Yes, yeah. No, it really is a global issue, and this is where the billionaire burn is really touching down. So I'm going to give a couple examples. One is just simply wealthy people buying up land and housing and bidding up the cost of land and housing. So that's what we see in Bermuda and every community. But then there's the investors who are saying, how can I extract more money from the housing market and from this basic human need of housing? So you also see investor groups, investor funds buying up single-family homes and rental homes, converting them to short-term rentals, Airbnb and Vrbo, and so I'm sure you're seeing that impact. Yeah. Investor, not just like one person owning one house, but like an investor group buying up dozens of buildings and kicking long-term tenants out and converting them to rental, short-term rental. Then there's this dynamic of buying up housing because people can't afford to own a home. They'll never be able to own a home, so they're buying up even single-family homes to rent to people for their whole lives. So a generation that might have at one point owned their own place is now going to be tenants for life, and they're going to pay rent their whole life. So they're making money, extracting money from that. And then you mentioned mobile home parks. In the U.S., one of the investors I looked into said, I love buying mobile home parks where, people may own their mobile home, but they don't own the land under it, and they live in a park. The absentee owners, one of them said, I love buying mobile home parks. It's like owning a Waffle House or any restaurant where the customers are chained to the booths. They have nowhere to go. They just have to pay whatever you're charging. So it's interesting. I think there's a lot of, the whole focus, say, on container housing, small, clusters of units. That's kind of what it's come to. But the question is, who will own it? And who will, can it be nonprofit owned? Can it be community owned or cooperatively owned? What about cooperative housing owned by the residents that can't be sold to an absentee owner? So the questions I would ask is, how do we anchor as much affordable housing outside that speculative market? And some countries have a larger social housing sector. Even Canada has, 25, 30% of the housing is not for-profit owned. It can't be. And it's resident-controlled or resident-owned or occupied, but owned by a nonprofit. So, yeah, I worry about all that investment money coming to Bermuda and looking for how do we make money off this housing shortage? Can we steer some of that to support resident-owned, locally owned, nonprofit-owned housing for people to live in, not for investors to take money from?
And how do we do that? Interesting, and it brings me to just your thoughts in terms, because you talk about how the tax burden shift is to the middle class. And in Bermuda right now, there's much speculation in terms of the corporate taxation, corporate income tax. And folk are still awaiting to find out how much is to be collected from this corporate income tax and how will it be redistributed, one, to aid in going towards Bermuda's debt, going towards also Bermuda's housing issues, going towards the health concerns. These are all some of the key categories in your book in terms of how health, housing, taxation is all influenced by the role that billionaires are playing on our daily coexistence. And so I'm curious in terms of, from your perspective, when we talk about collecting on corporate income tax in Bermuda and the redistribution of them, when you talk about the social housing and so forth, certainly our government will have a responsibility to Bermuda's people in determining how that is redistributed to benefit Bermuda's people. But how realistic is that in an economy that is billionaire driven, given some of what you already just described? If the billionaires are feeding into everything that we think is for some of us and it isn't, how realistic is it to expect that much of what we are to derive from a corporate income tax is to be regenerated into improving the quality of life of Bermuda's people?
Well, you're kind of asking a question, an important question, which is how in a society politically dominated by billionaire wealth and power can a popular people's agenda happen? I could suggest, things that other countries and jurisdictions have done. For instance, lots of cities in the U.S. and Canada have luxury transfer tax. So this is different than the corporate income tax, and we can talk more about that. But let's say properties over $2 million come on the market and are sold. A portion of that is taxed, 5%, say, of the value of that luxury transfer of a apartment or a condominium or whatever, and that goes to a fund. It's dedicated to a fund for permanently affordable housing, social housing of some, or a speculation tax, where a property is sold within less than a year, so it's clearly about short-term gain. You could levy anti-speculation tax. Again, the money could go to a permanently affordable housing fund. Let's call it the Fund for Affordable Housing of Bermuda or whatever. Or vacant housing, housing that sits vacant. Here's this urgent housing crisis, and this is happening in cities across the world, and there are vacant units and luxury units, or they're just being held by speculators. In Canada, British Columbia, the entire province of British Columbia has levied a tax on vacant housing. If the property is sitting vacant for more than X number of months of the year, they have to pay a fee into this. All of that could generate revenue for a democratically overseen fund that could buy up housing and keep it as permanently affordable housing, take it off the speculative market. But back to your really important question about the corporate income tax, and I think, unfortunately, you're going to know more about the kind of politics of that. Last time I was there, we were waiting for the constitutional. Wasn't there a provision, a 30-year provision that barred any kind of corporate income tax? We come to the end of that. So then the question is, how can the citizens of Bermuda come together and say, we want a corporate income tax, we want it to be reasonable, we don't want it to lead to capital flight and businesses leaving the country, but it's to be a good citizen, to be a corporate citizen in Bermuda means you chip in for the public infrastructure and the services and the quality of life for everybody. And it should be the people of Bermuda through your legislative system, not outside money, not lobbyists from corporations deciding how that money is used. And that's really the litmus test of whether we're going to become, Bermuda will be a self-governing society, buffered and protected by billionaire influence.
I'm smiling and listening to that one because that has been a subject in Bermuda since the announcement of corporate income tax. I'll be remiss, in the book, given that Bermuda's population is what we say 60% black population or population of African descent in its history. And you speak about the racial economic disparities and wealth inequality as a result of, burned by billionaires. The concentration of wealth among billionaires, as you state, is exacerbating the racial economic disparities in the U.S. And we see evidence of such things here, like we keep talking about. We know racially the black population in Bermuda is on the lower end of the economic pyramid, if you want to say. While we may have fluctuations, or while we may have variations of the black population who fall into upper middle class, lower middle class, we see the disparities in this scenario. And so I was also in it, how much does the tax avoidance strategies allow billionaires to play into that scenario as you've outlined it as it relates to the U.S.? Those racial economic disparities.
I mean, in both of our societies, we can point to, century-long legacy of colonialism and racism, and that means that present-day wealth inequalities are very much, racial wealth divides. In the U.S., the average white family has like 14 times more wealth than the average family of African descent, black family. So, and there's a lot we can do about that. But what I point out is that the wealth, the billionaire concentration of wealth and power worsens that divide. It kind of like supercharges it. There was a period in the 50s, 60s, and 70s where in the United States the wealth divides were lessening, but we were growing together. The racial wealth gap was narrowing, and now it's pulling apart again. And part of it is the economy has been reorganized to support dynastic wealth, inherited wealth, helping the already wealthy get wealthier and pass money on down the generational line. And that is diametrically opposed to creating an opportunity society where non-wealthy people and people of color who've been historically excluded can get on the wealth-building train. It's a humble aspiration. You want to have, be able to someday own your own home and maybe stop working and actually retire and leave some money for children so they can have some opportunities that, that's people call the American dream, but it's pretty much a global dream. But that's becoming harder and harder in an economy that's organized to funnel wealth to the top, to the top 1/10 of 1%. Those are not friendly economies to people who are not born with wealth. So that's one of the ways that the divides are worsened when there's these extreme wealth inequalities.
I was just looking, as you were speaking, I was looking for something because I was a speaker. I'm trying to remember his name. Shoot, African-American speaker. It'll come to me. But he was speaking to how coming in the coming year, he was challenging the public to understand what's coming their way. And he is speaking really to the African-American public specifically in terms of the trillions of dollars that are forthcoming because, and in the way he described it, the billionaires, the trillionaires, the trillions that are there, that is the investments, that are the businesses. That's where he was getting the businesses of billionaires. Their finding, of course, is either that these businesses will die, or they will become businesses that will become opportunities for others if they, and he was speaking to in terms of the African American community, to collaboratively be prepared to invest in these businesses that will either go out of business because those who stand to inherit it don't want to operate those businesses. And I was not going to bring it, but you're you gave up. I'm going to say you denounced a part of your inheritance years ago to build your own wealth. And when I hear this coming from John Hope, that's his name, John Hope Bryant, he was sharing this with a business audience. And he was sharing with them, in the coming years, the next 10, 20 years, the trillions of dollars that will become available through businesses that are either will be going out of business because they're becoming inoperative, because family no longer want to carry it on. So it becomes opportunities for those businesses to be sold. And so in this scenario of burned by billionaires, is that part of also this opportunity, solution to break into that wealth and capital?
Absolutely. You hear it's global, but you hear a lot of chatter in the United States about this intergenerational wealth transfer that's supposedly happening. There's 50 to 80 trillion dollars
that's
of wealth
what he's talking about.
Passing from the baby boomer generation to the next generations. But we have to realize most of that transfer is happening, let's call it, in the upper canopy of the wealth forest. It's among the 1%, the top 1/10 of 1%. I mean, 80, 90%, which is not to say the smaller wealth transfers are not meaningful. For a young person in their 30s to, a family member to transfer $10,000 to help them get along in life is meaningful. But most of that wealth transfer is happening among the ultra-rich. And then there's this other point, which is these businesses that are owned, family-owned, private enterprises. They're not usually public companies. And the owners are, in their 70s, and they're not really, there's not a family member who's going to step up to operate that business, the scenario you described. So they have a couple choices. One is they could sell it to another billionaire-backed private equity fund, which is what happens to a bunch of them. But what about the workers? What about the employees of that company? And there are great examples of people who've come to that point in their life and they figure out how to sell their business to the workers who've been running the company on one level. And, of course, it's not easy to run any company and run any business. Any small business owner listening as well as a big business owner knows that. But you could create a support system to train worker owners and to support the transition to broader ownership, or help, help people who have been excluded from wealth building to be in a position to become part owners of these businesses, become stakeholders. So I think it's a really important thing, and that's something. It doesn't necessarily require tax money. It might mean that you create the Bermuda Center for worker ownership to help transition private businesses to worker ownership, employee ownership, or create a sort of support capacity, or a loan fund, or development bank that can help with the financing of that. So I think that there are some real opportunities as this wealth transfers from one generation to another, and how can we do it in a way that brings more people into wealth ownership, not make wealth more concentrated and more dynastic. Too much of what's going on now is they're so wealthy, they're creating funds for their unborn great-grandchildren. And that's called dynasty. That's like not where we want to be going. We don't want to be like a generation from now all working for the sons and daughters of today's billionaires. That's kind of not where we want to go. That sounds like a dystopian movie to me.
It is to not go there, Chuck. I mean, part of it, I think, of the book I read, Cannibalistic Capitalism.
Yeah.
And it somewhat feeds into that mindset. Is it, when we look at, and looking at the importance of your work at the Institute and the work you've been doing for decades now in addressing inequalities and dealing with economic injustices and environmental injustices, this important work that you've been doing and are doing, when we reflect and look at the state of our world and the influence of the current political climate, which is, of course, exacerbated by billionaire political influence, how much of we know what the reality is, but the will of the people, how much of the will of the people is there in your research, observations, to counter this type of extreme gluttony?
Yeah.
In the face of, because right before us, and given that you deal with and you have this important work that you deal with in terms of social injustices and so forth, and this issue of poverty globally, the reality that poverty in your work, in much of what you've talked about, can be eradicated. And we see and we hear about China, for example. What China was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, to what it is now. The poverty that was there, the pollution that was there, to where it is now. And certainly China has positioned itself, as we see play it out in terms of the global politics, as a direct competitor to United States. But how do we see something like poverty being eradicated with this inferno, this billionaire? And China's a part of that billionaire inferno itself, but seems to have a different type of measure and control of their billionaire class supporting their economic growth versus the flip side, the 900 plus in the United States, for example. Will United States, for example, have to reconsider the possibility of something even comparable, although the last New York election and Trump's response to it seems to think something different of anything social? What's the possibilities? Is that a pipe dream?
No, I
work?
think I see a global awakening of people saying these extreme inequalities are undermining everything we care about. And that there's so much wealth, and this sounds like a spiritual point, but, we have this beautiful planet. There is enough. As Gandhi said, there's enough for everyone's need, but not everybody's greed. And even, and when there are these, and historians like Peter Turchin have looked at what happens to societies when there becomes too much extreme wealth and extreme poverty. Well, that doesn't end well. It ends in war or revolution or collapse. It's not good for anybody. And you alluded to my own personal experience, so I'll just say, I grew up, I won the lottery at birth, if you will. I'm the great-grandson of the meat packer Oscar Mayer. I don't know, do you get Oscar Mayer hot dogs in Bermuda?
Yes, we do.
There you go. So you're...
Somehow, many of us, if you're over 50, you grew up on them. That's
exactly,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, you might have even grown up on the song.
Yeah.
Right? There's this earworm of a jingle. Some of your younger listeners won't know it, but you and I could probably sing it together. So here's a company, I'm the fourth generation. Literally, my great-grandfather founded a butcher shop, and then family members created a meatpacking company and a fabulous company. And when I was 21, it sold to, one of the big conglomerates, General Foods and Kraft Foods. So it's not a family business anymore. But even 40 years ago, when I was in my 20s, I could see you don't want a society with so much inherited wealth and power. It's not really good for the children, and it's not good for the society. And so I made that decision to give away the wealth that I had 40 years ago. But, what it means is I've found there are cracks, even among the wealthy classes, who kind of say, this is not the kind of world we want to live in. We can alleviate poverty. Our societies can alleviate poverty and lift everyone up. There is enough. And if you go the other route, the route that we're currently on, it's going to lead to what you call the inferno, the billionaire inferno. It's not going to end well for our societies. I met, you know who Chuck Feeney is.
Yeah.
And I met Chuck Feeney. He's an example, though, of a billionaire who gave away whatever $9 billion in his lifetime and did not die a billionaire. He decided, I'm not going to be a billionaire anymore. And he's really the role model for this global giving pledge, and the idea that, and even like, I'm going to give it while I'm alive. I'm not going to create an edifice, a foundation that will live forever, that my great-grandchildren will still be dribbling the money out. He's just like, let's move it. And we need more examples, and they're stepping up. There's a whole lot of people I meet who are like, yeah, I'm going to redistribute my wealth in my lifetime, or I'm going to sell my company to my employees. I'm going to work on how to do that, to broaden the wealth, because it's in all of our selfish interests to not keep going down this road. And ecologically, we can't keep going this way. We can't have, the ultra wealthy jetting around, yachting around, burning, the kind of carbon emissions that are going to heat the planet. That's in no one's interest, including the wealthy. But the wealthy are going to have to change their behavior more and faster than the rest of us. So I say that all by way of, I actually see a path forward that is about sharing and redistribution, and it's about the will of the people saying, yeah, pay your taxes. Everybody should pay their fair share of taxes. And we should invest in our communities so no one goes hungry and no one goes in need. It's completely within our reach.
I have to ask you this because, of course, the role of AI in our world today, of course, AI, of course, has surpassed what internet was. And so when we think in terms of the financial curse that befalls us right now, and much of what you just said and what our greater possibilities really that are there really appealing to really our humanity. That's what it sounds philosophical, sounds spiritual, like you said. But if there's any hope for the world as we know it, it is to curtail the financial curse that we seem to be living daily. And the evolution of it the companies are still there, but the financial curse that is in there with the whole issue of, billionaire class. How do we begin to move this? What are the possibilities of that?
Well, that's a really big question. I mean, I think that part of what I see happening is the financial curse. This is partly one of the drivers of this artificial intelligence bubble. Right now, it's super overhyped. It's, they think, oh, well, this is the next big thing. And so there's huge amounts of speculative money flowing into it. A lot of the global stock markets are, I think, overvalued because of these speculative investments in AI. And people will tell you that. Jeff Bezos says, oh, yeah, there's a bubble. It's going to burst. Oh, but it's not going to hurt everybody else. It's just going to hurt the super richer investor classes. But that's never the case. It always has ripples through the whole economy. And here's the thing. You and I, nobody's asking you and I what we think of this artificial intelligence direction. It's not happening with any kind of democratic oversight. And it could become another form of a curse, as you say, a financial curse. We know it's a huge energy drain.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be like paying higher energy bills to support these huge data centers. It's going to require in the U.S. now they're focusing on keeping coal plants open that should have closed. The worst polluting form of energy, they're keeping it open to power these AI data centers. Now, it's not to say there's nothing. There's some useful stuff there. Just like Google and any search engine, it's kind of a miracle that we get to, look up and learn, get access to information very quickly. It's not like when you and I were growing up looking at the encyclopedia at the library, So there's some obviously tremendous benefits, but it's not, it's not going to be good for our societies to kind of go for so many jobs to be lost. So I think it's going to shake out, but it's not going to shake out in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I know in the U.S., people like Senator Bernie Sanders and others are saying, hey, we need to have a democratically overseen process. We, the people, should have a say in how this evolves and how much of our society's resources get sucked up into it. There's a democracy question here. Who's going to control these technologies, and will the benefits of those technologies help everybody, or is it going to be just another form of wealth concentration?
Well, Chuck, I could go on and on with this and that. I stay disciplined to my guest. You have given us an hour of this conversation. Is more than food for thought. It is certainly things for, if folk have been attentive to what's being said, I hear are some of the solutions to our concerns. And much of what we're talking about also falls within the conscience of even billionaires, like Feeney, maybe more like him, yourself even, persons who have been bestowed such great fortune. But in the climate that we are in, and you eloquently and articulate in an articulate way, have spoken to some of the importance for our planet. And I guess I want to end there on the environmental, because I know that's special and meaningful to you. If there is a solution and challenge for us as we look to extinguish the burning of the billionaires environmentally, what do you leave us with as a challenge in contending with much of what they're doing?
Well, I think what a lot of the work of those of us who are not in the billionaire group is to organize our neighbors and our countries and communities to defend ourselves against these harms. And when we have enough power to tax the harms and discourage them, the ecological crisis that is going to swamp our islands and our communities is largely driven by the billionaire class. They are the super emitters. The global carbon emissions of average at the is like 4 tons of carbon emissions a year. In the U.S., where we obviously are more like 15, 16 tons a year. The average billionaire in the top 0.1% emit 2.2 tons of carbon emissions a day. And that's because they have bigger houses, multiple yachts, private jets. So we need to say, the wealthy need to change their behavior for the sake of the planet, for their own sake of their own children and grandchildren. We have to dial down that level of extreme consumption. Again, there's enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. And so we need to tax super emissions. Private jets should pay their real costs of both the airspace and the ecological impact. Super yachts should pay their real costs. So that's one call to action is we need to defend the environment. We need to defend our democracy and defend the commons, whatever we hold together from the wealth extractors. And we need to look for allies and engage the wealth holders. Say, hey, we all live on this one little precious orb of a planet. You're not going to Mars. You're not going to Mars anytime soon. The whole idea of a space colony on Mars ain't going to happen.
Right.
So you're stuck with the rest of humanity. All the billionaires don't go off and create little island enclaves thinking you're going to ride it out and the rest of us are going to be left behind. We're all in this together. And I think that will be part of that hopefully that global consciousness shift. So, and I just thank you for the conversations you have every week on this network, and I hope that the conversations with the callers and listeners are fruitful because, and I think talking to our neighbors about how we're getting burned by the billionaires, and people can check out the book and the website inequality.org. I definitely invite people to check that out and write to me and tell me what you're thinking through inequality.org and in January there'll be an audiobook, a narrated audiobook if you like to listen to your book. So, but maybe there'll be a Bermuda edition over there too. So,
it'll be here.
Thanks again for.
I certainly will encourage it and be disseminating it. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
It certainly will be shared. Once again, I thank you, Chuck, for providing me the opportunity and the acknowledgement. I really appreciate and support your work at the Institute and your scholarship. And, hey, this is round 2. This is round 2.
Yes, sir.
And we waited 5 years, but I'm sure we're not going to wait 5 more years. Not the way things are going. Yeah, we will be staying in touch, and I am working on some things, and I do want to run it by you because I appreciate your scholarship and the work that you and others do at the Institute. So be safe. I know you're there in Vermont. I don't know, my years in New Hampshire, I'm very much familiar with snow covering my my entire door. So I know what that's like. I don't know what it's like tonight out there, but
it's a beautiful snow, but unfortunately rain too.
Okay, then it's a wet one.
Which means
it's a wet one.
Little icy out there.
All right.
So.
Well,
But anyway, bless you, and bless your listeners, and I look forward to being in touch.
Likewise. Take care. Be safe. All right. We've been talking to Chuck Collins. This has been a very informative and beautiful night. And, the second half of the night is you, Bermuda's people. I mean, those of you who have any reflection about what you heard tonight, those of you who have any reference to some of the issues, those of you who have any reference to some of the issues when we talk about our housing issues, we're talking about, well, not mobile homes. We're talking container homes, affordable, low-income homes. Not necessarily Section 8, but still low-income homes. We need to hear from you. What are the implications even for our healthcare system? All of these things right now. So I want to hear from you, the listening audience. And what I'm going to do, given that I did reference John Hope Bryant, I want to play something from John Hope Bryant because it's very pertinent and it's powerful. And I spoke to it with Chuck in terms of the 15 trillion. Listen up. Just a moment. Oh boy. Let's see the other thing. When you do this, let's see if it comes up.
What's one violent?
No, here we go.
There are there's $100 trillion of wealth transferring in the next 10 years. 15 trillion of that are businesses. Successful, profitable. Real estate having, brand having. They've been in business for 10 years, but what they don't have is a succession plan. The kids don't want the business. The wives don't want the business. The husbands don't want the business. They want the cash, the bonds, the stocks, the businesses. They want to go party because the first generation makes it, second generation spends it, third generation loses it. Am I going too fast? So out of the 100 trillion is 15 trillion. That's going to transfer in the next 5 to 10 years. These are successful businesses. Think about the biggest nursery in your little town. Think about the biggest dentist in your town. Think about the biggest daycare network in your little town. Go buy it. Yep. Don't do a startup for $25,000 on a GoFundMe campaign. It's going to go out of business in 3 weeks and your cousin's going to hate you because you got the money from them. Go buy a company with $1 million of existing cash flow and profitability with assets underneath it and get the bank to finance it on an asset-based financing with non-recourse debt. I'm telling you, it's like all my white friends, 65-year-old, wealthy, all trying to go play golf at the same time. I'm joking, but I'm serious. Nobody wants their businesses. Go become friends with a white person. You think I'm kidding? Go find some Asian, white, I don't care who they are, black, brown, somebody 65 years of age wants to go retire and can't. They'll do seller financing, and then she'll do the debt financing. She gets another promotion. He gets another story to write. We've got to become a market opportunity. We don't want to hand out. We want to hand up. We are America's future. Not just Black Lives Matter. Black capitalists matter. There are 15.
There you go. Powerful, John Hope Bryant, and while he's speaking to an American audience, $1 trillion is global economics. It's there for any one of us who have the cooperative, collaborative network to go get any one of those businesses, those opportunities that are out there. So let's hear from you, listening audience in Bermuda. And if I don't hear from you, because I'm going to keep sharing economic matters, because it's that type of show tonight. And we were listening and had an interesting conversation with Chuck Collins, author of Burned by Billionaires. And the question is, well, how are we burned by billionaires? Well, we're not exempt from what he speaks about in the book. Matter of fact, we are in the ring of fire. So
there's something
what is it we want to do about this here? What is it we want to contribute to the discourse of improving our own economic circumstances? And like I said, I'm going to keep playing something. I'm going to share another John Hope business plan and magnifying. Listen up. I think it's something different.
Execution and the impact. We got to do more than be a PhD. We got to be a PhD too. If 20% of every population, of every church population, would buy a house to live in 2 more to rent. I don't mean fancy ones. I mean right there in the hood. Right. Buy it, rehab it, and rent it. Problem solved. So we need to simplify the business plan and magnify the execution and the impact. We got to do more than be a PhD. We got to be a PhD too. If 20% of every population, of every church population, would buy a house to live in 2 more to rent. I don't mean fancy ones. I mean right there in the hood. Right. Buy it, rehab it, and rent it. Problem solved. So we need
I had to play that one again twice because, when we talk about affordable housing and the role that the church plays, and churches in Bermuda have property, so I also find it interesting how quiet. I mean, they got a lot on their mind, I'm sure, church leaders, and many are very active in our broader community with some of the social ills that we're dealing with. But when it comes to the importance of our housing, our churches, I believe, here in Bermuda can play a significant role and part. And a few of them do, actually. It's not to say that they don't. When I look at, for example, it was featured in the papers just shortly, when we look at Morgan's Point, for example, the unfinished residential condominiums that are there, those are upscale executive housing. When I listen to a John Hope, when I listen to a Chuck Collins share what he has spoken to in terms of the billionaire class, persons like a Chuck Feeney, for example, and we see investment property like that just sitting. We know that the government bought out portion of it, Dupero, and I'm sure what's Christopher, someone's give me his last name, Christopher Mabry, and all investors in part of that property that sits. Even when I had Mr. Hunt on, Nelson Hunt, when I looked at the possibilities of the vision that a Nelson Hunt showed me for housing there, enough 2,000, because he had the plan and still has the plan. What investors are needed? When I listen to a Chuck Collins speak to the type of investors that are needed for such property, And like I said, what is the conversation with the Dupereau, with the Christopher Mabry? And I know that a Nelson Hunt, if anyone knows, he got burnt in their deal. It's no secret. But still, that is prime real estate waiting for Bermudians to invest in. Do we sit by and allow other investors? I'm going to share something, and this is a sentiment that's expressed that's out there right now, and it was sent to me by Robert. Where's Robert? Robert. I'll share it. Oh, Robert. I may be looking at the wrong. Stubbs, not Stubbs. I gotta share it. It's a challenge of having too many networks to play with. Let's see if it's on this one. No. Okay, no, it's not here. I'll have to keep searching for it. But I will share something that political commentator and analyst Rolf Commission shared in a recent piece that is so relevant. He says the zero, and Chuck Collins spoke to this also, and this was in The Guardian, the UK Guardian. The 0.001%, a quick visual breakdown of the world's wealthiest people. Right? The Guardian had something in reference to this here. Commission's take on it. He says, my guess is that out of the 56,000 representing the 0.001% of the world's population, meaning billionaires, a high number, proportionally, 80 to 90% are Westerners. That's a fact. Having been the hegemonic force in the world, plundering and extracting a prodigious amount of human and material resources for the last 3 centuries plus. Both the US and the UK have been the dominant Western nations dominating the world for the last 250 years. It also goes without saying that according to Commission, his guesstimate is that 80 to 90% of the 56,000 are white. That's a fact. So when we look at this, and even John Hope Franklin gave reference to this, and that's why he said, partner with the white person who's in this business. We would want to. Do we here in Bermuda see ourselves in partnership with corporate Bermuda? There's much frowning in terms of some of the developments that are going on, but do we see ourselves as partners, stakeholders with corporate Bermuda? Is it some of the possibility that we can strike a partnership? When I say we, what little middle class or upper middle class that's left here in Bermuda can strike with corporate Bermuda and the government. Or are we concerned that our government is not for us? What's your comments? Good night, you and old friends. Good night.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's been very, very interesting. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, and boy, I mean, my mind is burnt out just processing some of the things that Chuck Collins was talking about. Yeah.
Yes, mine too. However, I do think that it can work. I do think that we can do something with the government. However, I really feel like, I'm going to put it out here, right? I feel like we should go after our banks that have made the money, paid the bills, and is still making money. We should get our interest, and then we can work with the government. If everybody works together and goes after that, I could see this all prospering.
Well, you know,
I could see people prospering.
Yeah. And listening to Chuck Collins, he says, that's not impossible. That's not impossible. I mean, I wrote something down. He was speaking and he was sharing when he was talking about the speculative and the luxury types of tax that can be done. But you also have these taxations that are reinvested in Bermuda's people.
Right.
Right? Because that's what you're getting at in terms of when you think in terms of an island our size. One, there should be no Bermudian, no person in Bermuda or Bermudian who is hungry, who's going hungry. Not by, unless you choose by choice. Every Bermudian is and could be fed. There is no Bermudian who should be without shelter.
Exactly.
Right? No Bermudian.
I agree.
No Bermudian, no person in Bermuda. And while we may frown upon others who come to this island and may cooperatively pool their monies to acquire some of the expensive rental properties, is not without Bermudians doing somewhat the same thing also. And so, given what you propose, there's great possibility in such. It's our will to contest, put the challenges there before the government of Bermuda, whichever government it is of the day, that places the needs of Bermuda's people first. And in the evidence, and when we say places the needs of Bermuda's people first, which is something that we do hear being said, but the evidence of it we don't see, because still there's no Bermudian who should be without shelter. Not one. Not one Bermudian should be without shelter, without a home or access to home.
Yeah.
Hungry. Not one.
Not one.
None in this island.
Not one.
And it goes to we have our churches that play their part, but still we bear witness to it every day, and we can identify those persons who are without shelter. There are many cannot afford $3,500 a month for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
They can't.
It's not wrong.
Not in Bermuda.
No, it's not wrong. It's way away from there.
So this possibility that awaits us in terms of affordable housing that has been put forward by Minister Zane De Silva and his team. Yeah, we look forward to it. At the same time, we are contending with Chamber of Commerce, their concerns, Mariko Thomas, in terms of where do we get the 2,000 people or the 8,000 people. We need more bodies in Bermuda to feed and support our economy. That's what's sad. But as that is said, with what you propose, what you put out on the table, now, there's that possibility. That's not a pipe dream to me.
No, it's not.
That's not a pipe dream.
Because if I have little and I go work with what I have and struggle to try to keep what I have, what I'm saying is that Bermuda, you should have no fear, because these elite people that we're so afraid of, and the ones that are so supposed to be so dangerous, they are your great-great-grandparents' children, okay? And they were here in the earlier days why they have what they have today.
Well,
So I'm putting it there.
they are some of those people that John Hope Franklin talks about.
They are people that gained from our great-great-grandparents, and that's how they came into being. Or even if you go out to the slave masters to say, let's do history, they are still the same families.
Yeah. I know
There
Corey.
is
I
a
know Corey
cause no matter
Butterfield.
where you go.
Yeah, I know
So
Corey.
therefore,
Go ahead.
they gain, and they still have today, and they're giving to a whole lot of other people. They should give back to Bermudians because they were hurt, or the family was hurt in the earlier days. They should be able to at least help Bermuda, because remember, the investments are here as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, based on something that you just said, Corey Butterfield talks about some of this here. When you look at how Bermuda was set up with Bermuda companies, and many families, who had invested but never lived on the island, their generational wealth is a wealth that has multiplied.
Yes.
Very much in the same manner that Chuck Collins spoke to. As he shared his own narrative and history. No. He was born into it. And he says, even right now, there are the billionaire classes who, of course, these are investments that they have for their unborn.
Okay.
Right?
I heard it. Yes.
For their unborn. And Bermuda actually was shaped and developed very much in the same way.
Yes.
That is very much a part of Bermuda's history.
Yes, because when I look at my research, and I went way back, I went way back to find out who these people really are, 1470.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that no matter what they gained, it still came from somebody before them.
Well,
whether they are saving for the unborn or not. This is how they came, a lot of them. I didn't say everybody, but a lot of them came into the wealth.
It was refreshing also to hear Chuck Collins, and I'm grateful that you are extending some of this conversation. But it was interesting hearing him speak to.
I could listen to him.
Because he even shared that for a place like Bermuda, and Bermuda's not unique to it, but he talked about the cooperatives. Right? That the cooperatives are another economic plan to assure that your people sustain or have the type of affordable housing, the health care that you want. And when you think in terms of, we hear the role that the union played at one point in terms of a cooperative.
That's the mention the union. They're doing an excellent job now.
But again, it's a revisiting that plan. It's a revisiting and challenging even the union. When we talk about the credit union, for years we've been talking about a bank. The credit union itself needs to divorce itself from the Bank of Butterfield and establish its really own charter.
I was wondering if it's possible to have that done, because the Teamsters always did something on the end. And they still do.
Well, it is possible. I mean, I don't know if he's listening tonight, but I know Donald Smith has often spoken to this in terms of that possibility that's there.
We need to be able to
much of this is the will to do
in
it.
charge too.
Yeah. Much
to
of
do
this,
the right thing.
Yeah, much of it is the will to do it. Much of it is the will to do it. It's not that it can't be done.
Do it,
I appreciate you
calling. We were on the right track before. And I'm just hoping that we could stay on the right track.
Well,
You know,
the way
I'm
things
praying
are
that we
right
do.
now, well, we need everyone's prayers right now. So
Yeah, we do.
Bermuda
Well, you know what? It takes a
Bermuda's not in
roundtable of people to sit down and look
is
at
not
it
in
and
a
make sure
pleasant
that those that are in
economic
charge.
state right now. Although
Right.
although it is said that the economy is improving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found what I wanted to share, and I really thank you for calling, and feel free to call in again. I'm just going to share
Thank
this
you.
here. Thanks a lot, dear.
And like I
Yeah.
said, they need a roundtable of people.
More to come. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
All right, it's coming.
Have a nice evening. I appreciate it.
You too, dear. Appreciate you too. I got to read this. Robert sent me this here from Seed. And he says, actually, it's a challenge. He says, the only Bermudian jobs being created under Minister Hayward and his foreigner first economy are the precarious kind. Post-COVID, Bermuda businesses have reported adding only 139 Bermudians to their payrolls, 121 in 2023, and only 18 last year. Since 2019, precarious jobs held by Bermudians have soared 2,362, while the employment of Bermudians by businesses has declined by 1,472. He says PLP politicians will tell you Bermudians have always had hustles, but that's just another excuse for the minister and the premier, he's saying, to further impoverish Bermudians. And like I said, Bermuda is a place where there should be no Bermudian in any state of poverty. So, what are some of your, if any of you have any perspective on this? And he goes on to say, he says he's not falling for Mr. Hayward's full employment, or Mr. Burt or Hayward are looking to give Mabry and Gencom a free pass on hiring Bermudians. That seemed to trigger some of you. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Leo.
Good evening, sir.
Just some good insight. I don't know. You don't have the echo, do you?
No, you're clear, very clear.
Okay. I've listened to you. I didn't get all of it, but it was extremely interesting. I would say this, that this new corporate tax that's coming up, right, I feel, and I spoke to the premier on the side about it, that born Bermudians should get a piece of that 15%. Not if you're no status Bermudian, born Bermudian.
Right.
And if you're from one of those 1% family, no. Right? That's how I feel. The reason I say this is because our great parents, they were the ones sacrificed how to build this country. Right? And as you can recall, just 2015, England was paid, the money they took up to pay the slave owners was paid off. And Bank of Butterfield was built out of the slave trade.
Yep.
Do you know Barclays Premier League was built out of the slave trade?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Right? A lot of people don't know that. We all stick out for British soccer teams.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Manchester United fan through. But that was built, Barclays was a slave trader.
Yeah.
Okay? So I feel that 15%, portion of that 15%, whether you take, I don't know, a million or whatever, work out the born Bermudians, that's where they're going, right? No wealthy Bermudians, no status Bermudians, that helps to go to them, help them. The other thing, I'm listening to this, your guest.
Right.
I'm going to another direction. I was reading online where Elon Musk and Bill Gates are investing I forget how many trillion, the rest of enormous amounts of money into this AI
Yeah.
and robots.
Yes.
And Bill Gates is also going down, is trying to go down to Africa and introduce some conception pure, which African leaders are saying, no way.
Yeah.
We're not coming down every day.
Yeah. He's very much into depopulation.
Exactly.
And the African continent is a target area of his, really.
Yeah.
Through
Because,
inoculation, vaccinations, all of the above.
Because the main minerals of the world and agriculture is in Africa.
Mm-hmm. And to support what you're saying, I mean, you know, our guest tonight, he shared Gates, even in United States, has bought up acres of farmland across the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, you know, much of it is really to store his wealth, to store. You know, he has to place it somewhere. So why not place it in land?
I also saw where, what's the guy? Larry Ellison?
Yeah.
Him and some wealthy thuggy guys are investing unbelievable money, billions, into buying up they're in Paramount, but they want to buy out
a Netflix.
No.
Not the Paramount Netflix deal?
No, Paramount. They want to buy out. I just read it today, this afternoon. They want to buy out what's that big movie? Warner Brothers.
Oh, Warner Brothers. Yes. Warner Brothers. Yeah.
He's putting up over 11 billion, and the other side putting up twice as much.
And it's interesting that you bring that up. You know, and I wonder how much people are oblivious to this here, because you know, every Friday, you see, if you have Netflix, you know, there are new films shared with the viewership every Friday, right?
Right.
You have a selection. And I think for the past 2 to 3 weeks or months, some will say, it's been less of that. And much of it has been attributed to this hostile takeover, right? And partnership between Warner Brothers, Netflix, Paramount, all of the above. They haven't had a chance to put anything out. So all of us who have this appetite for movies, you see, think of it in terms of investment.
Yeah.
As they, let me just put it this way. As we are busy paying our membership or fee for our Netflix, we could be putting that money into an investment in shares into the company.
And buying a small portion.
And buying a small portion. Just think of it, right? The great majority of the public, and this is what, let me just say this is what Chuck Collins was getting at. He didn't explicitly state it like this here. However, when you think in terms of the billions, the trillions that are being made, and the displacement of the so-called middle to upper middle class, right?
Yep.
The displacement is being done because, again, we're busy looking to be members and be entertained while the billionaires are profiting from your membership.
Now,
invest in people, invest in some of the product.
I'll say this. AI, as I see it, and I'm just ordinary Joe Blue. AI and the robots are going to cut down on hiring people.
Well, that's already begun in certain
right.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something else, Stevie. Stevie Wonder was, I don't know how true this was, but Stevie Wonder was being honored in New York just recently. And what he said shocked the audience because he had some wealthy millionaires and billionaires in the audience.
Right.
I don't know if this was true or not. But he says, he still, he didn't give you no thank you and all this. What he said, we should be looking at, the billionaires and multi-millionaires should be looking at how to house and help to feed those that are unfortunate.
Exactly.
And just what you said earlier, and he said, in the United States right now, with the amount of billionaires and millionaires, multi-millionaires there should be no housing crisis and people starve. Because they're saying people help to support your business and made you what you are today.
Well, just as we say.
And let me finish.
Okay.
And he didn't get no applause. They get no applause.
Of course he won't get any applause.
And he shocked everybody. And he donated, I think, $10 million to some fund to help out and all like that. And even Jasmine Crockett, she donated $12 million. And that was all our book sales and everything to help people in need and everywhere. You know what I mean? And like you said earlier, like the gentleman said, America has the majority of billionaires in the world.
Yes, they do. Over 900 plus.
That's right. And there's no reason why people should be starving, even in the world. No good reason why they should be starving.
Well, certainly not in the United States, given its boastful claims.
Right.
But I make also the same statement of Bermuda. Here it is. And even Chuck Collins said tonight, Bermuda, you're not the beneficiary of the wealth here, right? You're not the beneficiary of the wealth. However,
let me tell you something.
It doesn't mean that we cannot be stakeholders in the wealth.
Dr. Lou, Bermuda, as I understand, is the reinsurance capital of the world.
It is.
Of the world.
It is.
Why is the insurance rate so high? Huh? Why are insurance rates, house insurance rates, and health insurance so high? Like some people are paying a mortgage.
But it goes, like I said, it goes with our overall GDP, cost of living, all of the above.
And the lady was talking about just now, they should go off to the banks. They should go off to some of these insurance companies. They had to cash. Do you know the insurance companies are the cash cows?
Well, some will say cash robbers, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's true. But anyway, let me stop now. While
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I always enjoy it, and I enjoy the comments that. In fact, I'm going on my computer and look that guy up. What was it? Inequalities.org.
Inequality.org, or go to the Institute of Policy Studies. Just put in Chuck Collins.
Chuck Collins, okay.
Chuck Collins, and it all comes up, man. He's all there in Wikipedia. You can't miss him.
Yeah. And I enjoy your show immensely. I don't call in that often, but that is. Like I said, I was reading things today. I understood a little bit. But we got some changes coming in this world.
Yeah, I appreciate the support, man.
All right, Ron. It's all predicted in the Bible. The rich will get richer, the poor get poor. So,
all right.
Anyway, thank you very much, Brother Lee.
All right, my brother. Be safe.
You too, bro.
All right, now. Good night, you on all fronts. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, dear.
Just on my radio, though. We need to boycott some of these businesses that doesn't employ Bermudians. One, Marketplace.
Marketplace doesn't employ Bermudians?
I'm telling you, at the Daily.
Marketplace has got I think their staff is majority Bermudians.
Excuse me. I go to Marketplace, get Johnny Bread. And I go up there, get a sandwich.
Which marketplace you're talking about? Hamilton one?
Hamilton, across from Cathedral.
Okay.
Yeah, is not Bermudians out front making these sandwiches.
Oh, you're talking about in the Delhi area and stuff.
The Delhi,
okay.
Yeah.
And in the
bakery.
Right.
I don't see not one Bermudian in the bakery.
I know there was one lady that's there, Bermudian. There was one lady.
I see Filipino.
Yeah. All right.
In the bakery. And they're trying to get rid of Bermudian. If I don't see a Bermudian in a
well, you got more Bermudians on the cash register.
Yeah.
So I can't say.
I said the deli.
Any management.
I said the deli.
Yeah, you got. So, I mean, you're right in terms of in the service area of the food court. Let me put it that way.
That's what I'm
most
talking
of
about.
the chefs are non-Bermudian.
Are not Bermudian.
Yeah, but again,
And restaurants.
well, in terms of the restaurants, in terms of local, most of their staff are
On streets.
expatriate, definitely in Front Street. Yeah, you're right.
I know. I don't support it. I don't see my people.
What about? And I always put the caveat that, well, I put it there. Our people must want it too, don't they?
Yeah, I know, but I'm pretty sure they do go and try to see. But the owners want to pay less for.
Well, that's in Bermuda. That's always the greatest challenge, and it gets back to because you're breaking a consistent point. It comes up all the time. Bermudian working for minimum wage. I mean,
cost of living here
yeah.
too. You can't make it on that.
No.
But they want to give these gas workers.
All right.
Live in rent.
Well, again, as previous callers have said, it warrants the collective worth of us to change our circumstances. And there have been enough challenges that have been put there for us to do it. As a previous caller said, we have to be prepared to act together to change some of the circumstances of our condition. Yeah?
Yeah, we need to come together.
Yeah.
Charity begins at home.
Well, let's see. I thank you for calling, though.
All right.
All right. You too. Keep the peace. Good night, Juno friends.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Lou.
Yes, sir.
How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going peaceful right now.
Yeah, I was listening to your comment earlier, and you was right on point about when it comes to housing and people about shelter or food in Bermuda, it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And first, I'd like to remind the elected officials of the government, to remind them that we elected them to do for us.
Right.
This is their job. This is why we elected them, selected them to do what people are asking for them to do, and they're doing a lot of it. They are doing things, but it's just a reminder to let them know that that's who you're actually working for. And that's who you are responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes they need to be reminded of that in that sense, and because right now we're in a situation where the number one problem that we have right now, as you mentioned before, is housing.
Yeah.
And we're looking for in this new modern age of housing for us in Bermuda, we're Bermudians, we want to step up to some high-end type of housing to be built to us Bermudians. We're not looking for some slam together, drop this, put that. No, we're looking for some decent housing for the country.
Well, the thing about it, and this was shared tonight too, but the thing about it, the way that Martin houses are today, right? And there are many examples of it globally right now, even in the U.S. Although in the U.S. it may be a bit more than what you find in Asia. But the traditional way that we are used to building homes is being replaced.
Yes,
it's being replaced. And I'm saying, let me just ask, is Bermuda, because we're very slow for change right now.
Right.
Is Bermuda prepared for such a change of
yes. In the sense of this, Dr. Liz, I know we can look all around the world and see what they're doing out there, but like I said, number one, right, the oldest British colony in all of them. Before the Pilgrims coming,
right, and
all the Caribbean islands coming. What the oldest? People got to remember that. What the emancipators? We changed things for the rest of the world. Just like how we are now the rich capital of the world.
But you keep saying that, but we're afraid to make the changes for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we need to have the understanding of the government, like I mentioned to you before, that they are working for the people of Bermuda. And what we're looking for is for decent housing. We're not talking about in the sense of, you see how we built Perimeter Lane.
Yeah.
You see how we built those houses down there at the St. Davis, overlooking the waterside.
Yeah.
Some people are living very comfortable down there. You heard not one complaint from them down there, because the living is something they could be proud about. Although it's this story of that,
and those homes have stood the test of time. And we say when you talk about withstanding Category 4 hurricanes and everything, they've done that.
They've been through it. This is what we are looking for. This is what we need right now. We're not needing this bits and pieces. We need to see a serious construction for the 300 to 400 to 500 people, and also for the people that are living in America, living in England, that wants to come back home, but they need housing. They need somewhere to raise their family. They need somewhere to be able to be proud of where they're living.
Right.
This is what we need right now. We don't need this, what got the money. You know, we have the money to do it. If we can take $250 million of our taxpayers' money to go up there to Morgan's Point and clean up that mess of the taxpayers' money, $250 million, we could have bought South Princess and renovated and still have money left over and built some national pride in this country. We need housing. We need decent building houses. If I got to go 2 and 3, 4 stories up there, what got the space, what got the government land to do it?
I'm gonna take your plea, because I want to get the last few callers.
Okay.
But
this is all, that's what I'm saying. This is what we are looking for. We're looking for homes that we could be proud to live in. Look how high they go. 2 and 3 bedroom apartments, or even 4 bedroom apartments, multi-purpose buildings.
Right.
This is what we're looking for. This is what we need right now to encourage our people to come back home, to encourage people. We don't care about if I got the rent. As long as we have somewhere decent to live.
Let's end it on that there and see what we come up with.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, you know, France.
Yes, good evening, Brother Lou.
Good evening, my brother.
Yes, man, this is a perfect show tonight, man. This is what we need. Through the show, I mean, this is a blessing tonight, right? But what I'm about to say, right, that the union, looking at things that they can do to fix this, but we must join the union. Remember back in the day where they bailed out the government?
Yeah.
So the workers took furlough day, and the hotel took 5 years frozen wages.
Yeah.
Right. So look, if we look that way, see how we bailed them out, so what's wrong with them helping us, the government?
Who you're saying should be helping it? The union helping out, or the government helping the union out?
The government.
Because aren't they? I thought they're co-partners, aren't they?
Pardon me?
I thought the union is a partner of the government, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand your plea. You're saying the union needs to bail the government out, or the government needs to bail the union out? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying they should unite.
Oh,
we must unite in that phrase.
Okay, and unite in the context of what? Rebuilding Bermuda?
Yeah,
I thought the union is a part of the unity.
Saying financing.
Oh, okay.
We need to go to the financing now.
Right.
Like you mentioned before about bank.
Right.
So we have to cut down that expansion of that.
Well, that's the part that I think the union could play a greater role in, with partnership with the credit union. Really establishing itself as an independent financial institution from relying upon Butterfield Bank.
Absolutely.
That'll be a step.
Yeah.
And allowing for its constituents to invest in what the credit union has to offer.
Perfect.
Through cooperative economics. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And then we can move on from there. We can earn housing.
Well,
once you take that type of investment, like you need to grow so huge.
I'm going to play something I'm closing out the show actually with something on this here. This is coming from John Hope Franklin also, where he established an affordable housing fund launch. And when you listen to it, again, based on what you just stated, imagine if the union took such a stance with the credit union. Listen up. All right?
It's a blessing to be here in this place, Lou. God bless you, bro.
All right, bro. Peace and blessings. You the last caller. Go ahead. Oops, miss you. You're the last caller. Go ahead. Turn your radio down.
Hello.
Yeah, turn your radio down a little.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the Reverend David O'Brien, number 10.
Okay.
Then are we black people going to realize that who the enemy is?
Mm-hmm.
Because we need to pull together for our own national program.
All right.
We keep on complaining and complaining and complaining.
You're right.
We need some strong men that's willing to physically die. If it weren't for our ancestors that fought back against the same thing that's been going on for centuries and centuries in Bermuda, and the problem is not solved.
Yeah.
Until we unite with a plan for all black people, that this situation will remain the same for many, many years.
And be unapologetic about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
We keep on going back to Technical Institute. Why haven't we built our trade school? We keep on waiting for somebody else to do it for us.
Yeah.
Then we should be doing it ourselves. Why can't we collectively come together? This is a
And let me just ask you this here. Do we need some of our institutions to assist in this collective unity that you're speaking about? Meaning black churches? Do you mean the union? Schools?
We need all these black institutions, schools and everything. We need to come together and sit down and strategize a movement going forward.
All right.
Because the enemy, right, that are supposed to be one of us but are not the same color, right, have already moved on. They have sold the banks already.
All right.
They have filled most everything. This is why all the outside forces are coming in and took over.
Well, look,
We're losing our culture. Yes, I will get to you on another time because I know you're getting ready to close out.
Yeah.
But this thing is very, very, very serious. We've got to stop playing and stop joking around.
All right.
You know, because look, they didn't our people before us have to boycott? They had to burn down. We keep on talking about this God. If you read for yourself and you believe, you have to stand firm and be prepared to die for what you're going to do.
Yeah, well,
our movement right now has been led by the enemy.
Yeah. Well, let me end on that note and put that challenge before the people.
Okay,
all right?
my brother. I'm
all right.
You because you think we're getting smarter and wise and wise, getting all these degrees, but yet nothing's changing.
Let's see. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right.
Make sure that 30% of contracts approximately for maintenance go back to the local community, plumbing, heating, electrical, landscaping, roofing, etc. So that reinvest in the community. So it's streets to suite strategy. So you're still hitting your marks, you're still hitting your numbers, the banks are breaking safe and sound loans, you're still market economy, but because of you're accessing this below market, slightly below market equity and debt, it all works. And you can scale that up. And I'm told, Becky, that this is 10 times larger, unfortunately, than the next largest effort in this space. And I think that's because it was just localized. So this is going to be national.
So you have $250 million that you've already raised, and that's 10 times greater?
Unfortunately, yeah. It seems, for Wall Street, these are not big numbers, but for Main Street, this is a game changer. And if you can partner now with mayors who see capitalism typically as not as their friend, you can partner with municipalities, with organizations. Somebody has a title to a property. They have the zoning. They've got the plans. They don't have the capital. They don't have the equity. They can't qualify for the debt. We can come in and possibly partner with them, maybe buy that property and give them some development experience. And we take on the institutional responsibilities. So it's really a first ever in the structure. It's not, of course, the first fund. So we're talking about a 10-year commitment to naturally occurring affordable housing. So there's about $500 billion a year that gets committed to the Community Reinvestment Act, which is a big number. So the fund is the first of many. This is part of an impact partnership with CIM. So it's a CIM and Joint Venture Impact Ventures. This fund puts an anchor down in affordable housing for multifamily, which, as you know, is a huge crisis in the country. There's something like 4 to 7 million units that are underwater that are needed in this country. But the magic sauce here is the capital stack. So to go to the bank, Community Reinvestment Act, which has been used episodically. A church sponsors something here, a corporation or a mayor sponsors something here. No, there's no scale. There's no rinse and repeat. You can't scale that. But that capital, if you use it properly, is below market for equity and below market for debt. So what we decided to do was to combine doing well and doing good at the same time. And my vision, my experience, it leaned into capitalism with an institutional partner like CIM, which is $30 billion, and tap banks for equity and debt. So for every dollar of equity, you get $2 of CRA debt that you can access below market. That makes the numbers work. But like this, I mean, this is not rocket science, but no one has done this with CRA bank funding before. And so maybe you can take pieces of this and marry it with something like, for this example, we have mayors now who are saying, we're going to give you, if you can come to our city, we'll give you tax abatement. Well, that's not available to a traditional commercial developer or fund. We got some land. Because your reputation, because your mission, you're going to be, is for a decade for affordability. You're not going to flip the property on somebody. We'll contribute land to this. Well, all of that reduces the cost of the development and ultimately the cost of the rent to the end user. So this is win-win, and it's scalable. And as you said earlier, it's not at its objective yet, but $250 million, I'm told, is 10 times larger than anything, which is really sad, anything that's been done like this before. There's two ways of making money. You make more.
There you go. And we talk about affordable housing, and when I think of what John Hope Franklin just shared, I think in terms of when we look at the revenue, that comes out of the corporate income tax, what percentage can be allotted for an affordable, housing fund? That's a possibility. If it isn't, well, let's have that conversation. To go with the proposition that we have before us, no, it's whether you agree with it, like it, whatever, it's a step forward in terms of the container home that Minister Zane is speaking to. But out of the corporate income tax, what affordable housing fund could be created to produce what he's talking about? 100 million allotted? Imagine. I don't know. What do we stand to get out of the corporate income tax? The top 20 reinsurance companies are billionaire investment companies. That's what they are. If we're collecting 1% from them, 3% from them, 250 million of that is nothing. The top 20, look at their profit margins. You can Google, just type in the top 20 reinsurance companies in Bermuda. Type it in tonight and look at what their profit margins are. And so if we are to collect, when I say we, yes, the government, we are to collect a percentage of that. What is that percentage? And how can it be allotted, transferred to affordable housing fund launch? Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the deep intellectual conversation tonight by Chuck Collins, Burned by Billionaires. I encourage you to get out there and get the book. We got about 2 more on all fronts and need to lead before the festive season. Usually we're 2 weeks off the year. We'll see what happens. I got to talk to Dr. Shan, see what she's doing. But on that note, hey, we don't fight on any one front, people. We fight on all fronts. Keep the
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.